started here in February here and will run through October, possibly November of this year. So lots of topics to cover here. None really, I think, maybe more important right now than the ACM 4000 here. I think everybody is certainly looking forward to some of the new product releases that are coming, but this one has emerged over the last 12 months here, and I think the ACM 4000 is I think has been very aptly determined as sort of a Swiss Army knife product here, which has applicability in a lot of different places across the product line. So I think it'll be a good opportunity to cover that, as well as as I said earlier, the AWI Altronic web interface that powers the ACM 4000. So I'm very happy to have Mr. Matt Trena here. Many of you know Matt. He's our Director of Engineering for products here at Altronic. He has graciously agreed to provide the overview on the ACM and the AWI. So I encourage you here certainly to ask him questions as they come up, and then we'll put some time aside at the end of the hour to circle back around and make sure everybody's questions and comments are heard. So, Matt, sir, again, welcome, and many thanks again for joining. And sir, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Dave. Good afternoon, and thanks for coming. As Dave mentioned here, we'll be covering the ACM 4000 and most importantly here, the way that you essentially will view all of our new products, all of our newly released products, and probably throughout the future here, all of our legacy products. So it's important to at least try to grasp what we're capable of doing here, and what this kind of looks like and how things are taking shape. There's been a lot of questions. I know we've done this for probably many of you. You've seen it, not this exact demonstration, but heard of it, seen it, looked at it. We've talked a lot about it, but we continually still get questions about how does it work? Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And those types of questions. So it's varied all over the map, from people who have no clue what it's doing to people actually in South America that were just able to make it work, asked some really good questions, and then away they were going and commissioned an AFR. It was so again, it just varies all over in different spectrums. So we're going to do this here to try to start from the beginning, and it kind of gets all over the place. So I'm going to try to keep it very focused on where we are today, what the AWI is, where would you go to do certain things, and hopefully provide some information. And then this is ever growing, so it's changing all of the time as things come up and we see use cases and things that you can do with it. But for today, we'll cover what it is and where to go. So with that, let me share my screen and we'll start here. So hopefully everyone can see that, and we'll get going. So the first product that this was really launched on was the AFR 500. So we've kind of beat that one up pretty good, but it's really the biggest use case in the moment. So for everyone with the DE 4000, those are also use cases. And we have a new thing coming out that we'll talk about at the end of this, which kind of puts a bow around probably a lot of at least the mainstream questions. But for today, we're going to cover the beginning of this, which is mainly targeted at the AFR 500, which represents most of what you'll see today. Any products that you would see to interface with it, that if you have an image and you have a product and you've bought an ACM and we sold it to you so you can bridge something, this is essentially what you would do and how you would see it. So the key to this is, the first thing is to remember, anytime you see our new products or hear of the ACM or hear of something launched in that way, you're going to want to remember that you have the ability to go configure it yourself. So that's number one. You always have the ability, and I'll take the example as the NGI 5000. That's coming out, as just everyone on this call should know. And The display screens are exported AWIs. And, we'll go into that in a little bit, but just know that if you, follow the right documentation when it's out, and you really hate the screens the way they look, that they came from the factory, you have the power to change those by using this tool. So you can change our new products, the way they look as an embedded device with an embedded screen. You have the ability to log into those with a completely different screen. And you can export those, save those, change those, and we'll go through that. But the key here is anytime you see or hear AWI or our screens, you have the ability to change those however you want. Okay, so what you see here is the Altronic documentation wiki. And I see that unfortunately that didn't get changed. I apologize, but that will happen by next week. That will be the new logo. So sorry about that. But anyway, this is where you're going to see how to connect. So the other theme here, outside of hearing AWI and seeing our screens, is knowing that everything we do with all of our products, there'll be some way to talk to it using a network cable or Wi-Fi. And that's really important because you need to go through these instructions and make sure that your device that you're using is on the same subnet. So what that means is, let's see if I can find the right here. So 192.168 is like the public domain. That's pretty much every IP address, unless you have an internal network, that you'll ever see. The subnet is this whole first three, I guess we'll call them numbers. So 192, 192, 168, and 1. Those are three numbers. That is going to be your subnet. Okay. So if you have 192.168.2, you are not going to be able to talk to our device. Now, that being said, we have ways in the products through Modbus or other ways that would be more of a product specific information that we can change this. So believe me, you're not going to run into conflicts on the network and be stuck. So just know that you can change the device's IP address, and that's all configurable, but for a different topic. Point here is that these three numbers from the device you're trying to talk to and your device, your PC, tablet, whatever, all need to match. So 192.168.1 has to be the same. This last number here is we'll call it a node identifier, just for everyone who knows Modbus. This is your node essentially. So if the device is 200, you can't be 200 because they need to be different. You have to be unique. So point here is that if something else is 200, you should be 170. I don't know, pick some random number. But try to stay above 100, you'll probably be safe, and below 200, you'll be safe. This number can generally go up to 255. We try to stay, if you're in that somewhere, I usually pick weird numbers like 173 because most people don't choose weird numbers like that. But anyway, knowing again, AWI, I can change it. If I'm going to talk to an AWI or a device or do anything with all of our new products, especially the ACM, I need to know how to change the IP address of my device. And these three numbers need to match. So that's the most critical. And this whole document walks you through that. And I won't bore you with all of that, but essentially you get into your network settings and do these types of things and change it. Now, that being said, sometimes your IT rules won't let you, depending on who you are and what you're doing. You may not be able to do that. So they sell these really nice USB to Ethernet adapters, and those tend to work the best as well. That if you plug it in, it'll show up in here. It'll be another device. So like here, I was actually using a USB to Ethernet adapter. The one on your device might be like Ethernet 3. The USB adapter might be like Ethernet 5 or 6 or something. If you're not real sure, you just unplug it, look for it to go away, and then plug it back in, and then you should see like it either go green, like something's there, or go red, or maybe disappear from the list, depending on your computer. But the point is, you want to make sure you either change your network settings of your PC, or you change the network settings of a USB to Ethernet adapter. And for anyone who's on a DE4000, this should probably be second nature for you guys. But just so everyone's aware, these are all things you have to do, and this document walks you through how to do all that. So, and then this also tells you, okay, if you really want to know that you connected, you can ping your device by going here. You just type ping and the IP address of the thing that you want to hit, and if it's there, then you'll see 4 little polls if it's a Windows PC, and it'll tell you how long it took and that you didn't lose any packets and a whole bunch of kind of boring network stuff, but you'll know you're connected at least. If you don't get that ping, then there's a problem. In the case of the guys in South America, they actually pinged it and it worked, but they ended up changing from like 200 to 199 for their own, their PC IP address. So this number that they changed it to, they went from 200 to 199. And this actually worked for me. I don't know maybe there was some conflict on their device, but they said, hey man, we tried your document and it works great. I can ping it, but the thing doesn't come up. And then they changed it to 199 and then everything worked. So not entirely sure what happened there, but in almost all cases, if you can ping it, at least your network settings are right. You're in that same subnet that we talked about, and you can get to it. So, all right. And then in general, this is a bunch of connection parameters once you get to an AWI that we'll run through later. So any questions on the network side of things, or what if this is going to be a pain, or if anything that wasn't clear? Okay. All right. So the next thing that's important to know, and here's the documentation, and here is, you can get to this. This is linked from our website, at least for the AFR 500. But once you get here, all the documentation is there. So I just went to documentation wiki, which you can link from the DE4000, the AFR 500. I don't think the ACM's on the website, but then you get here, and if not, make sure you bookmark this site. But and then I got here. But the next thing that's important is to get to the GitHub. So this is the public files for the Altronic LLC GitHub, and this has the released versions of the AWI. So you want to kind of check this place out, because this will have the latest dashboards that someone at the Altronic factory has built, or the AWI tool itself would be in here as well. So this is a good place to go if you want to grab some of these tools. So, for instance, you would go in here and you could just download this. It'll download to your machine, and then you would unzip it, and then you'd have all the available AWI. So, okay. Any questions on networking or where to go get released files? I think that's all clear. Okay, so when you get a device, for example, the AFR 500, it will come, preloaded with image on it. It'll have AWIs loaded, and to link this GitHub page to the AWI stuff, if you have a device with an AWI and you don't like it, then there's a couple things you could do. So again, remember, you can change everything, right? So you can either download this and go build one and then export it and put it on a thumb drive, or you could try to do it right on the device itself. So let's take the instance where I want to just go look at the device itself. So we've got this screen over here, and this is just, I'm hitting the IP address right here of the server that's running on the ACM 4000. So this is the IP address that is native on the ACM. You would enter this into the connection settings, and then this is what would pop up. So so right now I have two AFR 500s on my desk connected with an ACM 4000. And you can see here, these are all of the released versions at the time of this image. And we have some new ones that need to be put on there. So for now, we'll just kind of take a look at these. So we'll go ahead and look here. So for now, we'll just look at a dual bank. So that pops up with our connection screen. I can connect to it. And now I'm looking at a dual bank AFR 500. In the case where we're on the device, if we wanted to get back and change those screens, there would be a little settings gear right here. So if I had a actual USB and HDMI hooked up to the ACM, you would see that. But right now, because I'm hosting it from my computer, we're looking right here. So I want to get back. So we'll get back here. But you can get to and from this by this little settings gear icon when you're actually looking at the device. And that's important because let's say that I went and I wanted to create a new device. So for instance, let's just say we're going to go here, do that, and I'm going to open this up. So I've got a new, move the server over here, and I've got this guy right here. So I'll connect to it, we'll clear this, and right now I just have a new release. It's just in here. But because my web browser saved all these settings, I'm kind of back to this guy right here. So I don't really like that. So let's see if we can do something a little different where we'll go back and this guy. Okay. So now we are got another instance of this. So now we just, as you can see here, we've just got a bunch of pages, right? So it's no magic here. I just want to show you that we can connect to this with multiple devices, multiple times. We're pinging the ACM, it's gathering all the information and giving us a whole bunch of stuff. So this is the AWI. So we went through network connections, we went through settings, we went through all these things. We went through, you know, what it kind of looks like, so you can select some things, and we'll come back to that. And now we've got our AWI. So again, looking at the AWI, this is the page, this is that address I was talking about that you would enter in. And again, remember, you look here, 192.168.1. I'm in the same subnet. Remember, I made my computer .200. This one is .23, and the port is 80, and now we're here. So now I can connect to it. So we had the network settings, now we had these settings, and the subnets match, and I end up with something that looks like this in the case of an AWI that's fully expandable. So I can do anything I want in here now, and I can change things and do things. But the key to remember is that I'm changing this on my view, changing this on my computer view. This over here is the ACM. So remember, this is the ACM. I can click on any of these, and this will show up on the display if I click this, you know, if I had an HDMI, you know, monitor hooked up. So this is the ACM. This is my computer. Okay, so ACM has something. Oh, come back. There it went. Okay, so ACM computer. So anything I change over here doesn't necessarily show up on the ACM. All the settings take place. Like if I go to, I don't know, if I change this, we'll make that 0.2. Well, if I go back to this one, it's now 0.2. See, those are two different instances. But if I change, I go here and edit this, and I change this one to yellow, click done, that's yellow. But if I come back here, it's not yellow, right? So just remember, each page is its own thing. So, you could be on your computer looking at stuff, and then someone else, if they were on the same network, assuming there was a switch or something, let's just say you all have an Ethernet cable, the next guy could walk up and he could have a completely different view that's for emissions, and you could have one that's just for monitoring temperatures, or you could have multiple tabs on your computer that was, this there we go. This whole thing is temperatures, and this whole thing is like, I don't know, stepper positions, whatever you want. But they're just different displays. So very powerful in the way that you can have multiple screens for different people at different times. And then we'll talk a little bit more about other things you can do with that. But for the moment, just know that this is on this screen. This is on this screen. This is the ACM 4000 that I could click any one of these and bring those up. And we're here. So the way you know that you're here and you're connected is you see this blue dot. It says connected. There are errors. They're not growing. I can always get back to that connections page by clicking that. Click connect. Now, you always get one error here when it comes up, but then you know you're connected. So that's the connection settings. Those will always be visible one way or another. And we'll get into a little bit about how you can hide those and do other things when you export this. But this is the AWI. So this is, again, not fixed. You can change it, you can move it, and then we'll show you how to put it on another device. So this is the dashboard page. We've also got channels. So every channel that's available, you get a quick view here as to what it's doing. And then on the debug tab, you actually get another view of all of the channels. But this one, more importantly, allows you to enter write values. You can write into any of these gray boxes here. So that helps you, you didn't put it on the dashboard, but you want to make a quick change to something to see what happens, then you could, those are all reads, but you could go and, change this from 3,000 to 1,000, things like that. And that might actually be on the dashboard. Yeah, so that's over here. But you can see it. Change that back to 3,000. And then that'll show up back here in the debug. That would be, 3,000 again. You can see. So yeah, so you've got a bunch of different views. The main one is the dashboard, channels, and debug. And then now if you want to change any of this, again, you're only going to edit the screen you're on. It's not going to show up anywhere else but what you're looking at, and then you can save and do different things. So you can change all these, which most people have probably seen me do before, but you can click any of these boxes. You can delete these boxes. You can move them. We can resize them. Done, and there's, change the size. And then here we have a list. You can change the list, or I'm sorry, when you click on a cell, it's highlighted. And when you go over here and select it, you now have a full list of all the available parameters that you can make that be for that box. And then with that, you get all these different settings depending on what it is. So over here, we want to change the name. Let's just say we want to make this the right bank thermocouple. Right. And then click done. And now that's the right bank thermocouple. Then let's just say we want to make everything that's primary. We want to make it orange, yellow. That's aux. That's aux. Got a little bit of everything. So if it's got everything, we want to make that probably blue. This is mainly going to be orange because that's everything from the left bank. That's a primary. We want to make it yellow. Didn't worry about the aux. We called right bank. That was aux, and that's alarm acknowledged. done. Now we have a quick view. Everything orange is primary or left bank or whatever you want to call it. So you could go back and you don't like all this being primary, so we just want to edit that and make that left bank. So that's left. We talked a lot about this in the beginning about whether we call it left or right, primary or auxiliary or whatever. But if you start calling everything left or right, you've now fixed all of those registers, regardless of like what bank they put it on, left or right. So if you put it on the wrong bank, I guess you'd have to disconnect it and go put it on the other one or relabel everything. It sounds small, but I actually got into that where I called it the left bank, but then we were troubleshooting in the field, right? The first ones of these set up, it was like, well, this one's left bank, that one's right bank. And then we saw some things and we wanted to change some things, and then the left was no longer left, but when you're reading the label, it says left. It gets kind of confusing. So anyway, from the factory, we decided to ship it as primary and auxiliary. Just so you know, the primary is doing the primary functions, the auxiliary is doing the auxiliary functions. If you really want to change it, you can change it, or you could just change the colors so you know, whatever you want to do. But the point is that we ran into what you call it, and the best thing that I could come up with. And if you hate it, you know, there's a enough decision to want to change it. Probably still won't, but we could see. Just kidding. If it really sucks, we could change it. So now we've got this dashboard, like it, and we want to put it on other things. So I want to send, pick Dave Bell. Dave Bell is going out in the field, and he likes this dashboard because it's great for troubleshooting, and he hasn't built a dashboard. So I can export the dashboard, and when I export the dashboard, it just exports a file. For anyone who's DE4000 literate, that is just JSON. You'll get a text file essentially, and then you can import a dashboard as well. So now you could completely change it by exporting and importing, and then when you import it, it'll just change this whole look and feel. And when you click done, you'll have a completely different dashboard if you wanted it. So is that all clear on editing the dashboard, getting configurations out to other people, why you would maybe want to do some of the things that are in here? Is that all good? All right. Sounds good to me too. So now the next big thing that is important to understand. So when but when the factory goes through a release process, what you'll get is you'll see, like on the ACM 4000 for the AFR 500, what you see are these weird letters, like the date. So that's my way of versioning. We could have done numbers, but I think this is going to be fluid enough that dates are probably better to keep track of where everything's at. So these are like earlier dates that they were released in 2022. And then you've got A, AD, LAD, nothing. And you've got single bank, A, AD, and LAD. And what those letters mean, you look over here, they correspond to these checkboxes. And you can choose these checkboxes in 1, 2, or 3, or none. So if it's got an L, that means it's locked read only, but it's not going to auto connect, and it's not going to be the dashboard only. And if you click an A, click up here, that would be auto connect. So you can see I've got an auto connect with a dashboard only, and then a locked auto connect with a dashboard only. And then this one that has nothing, it's just completely open. So if you have a, and I'll preface this by saying we're working on security right now. That's in the works. But at the first value of security would be you'd have to have someone who knows what they're doing and what all this means and how to connect to it and bring up different pages. So for now, they'd have to know how to navigate to this screen and bring up a completely different screen to change something, which means they probably know what they're doing. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But we are going to offer password or some sort of authentication to get in and to be able to do some of this. But so for now, you'll it'll have one of these things. And if you want to go relaunch it, you have to get to this page, and then you could open up a different view. So in the case of the ACM 4000 with the AFR 500, again, you would click this box here. When you click this box here, there'll be a settings gear up in the corner. You'll click the settings gear, and you'll get to this page. When you get here, you can just on the touch screen, just click one of these and it will bring up a new one. So in the case we did a prototype in Louisiana, I did a operator screen, and I think so. If you go here and you go to connect, and we're here under the version and the name, this is what will show up when you go to here. So I just put in the name like operator view, emissions view, whatever. So I just named those, and then the person that wants to use it, they would just click the one that they wanted, and then when they didn't want that one, they would just click the other, get back to this page and click the other one for the operator view or for the emissions view or whatever view you want. And then again, just to reiterate, you can always connect your computer and do what I'm doing here and have a completely different view. So is all that clear? So let's name this one test. I'm going to download that and get to my downloads. So now I've added test in here. So I exported test. I put test here. So now, so there's a couple different ways to do this. If I was doing this on my computer, I could just be looking at this page like I'm doing now, right? So you're going to watch this happen. Or if you didn't want to connect with your computer, you could not be connected. There's nothing that says you have to be connected. I could be in the dashboard and there wouldn't be information flowing. All the boxes would be here, but this wouldn't say 10367. These thermocouples would be blank. You get the picture, right? It wouldn't be live. But I could edit this, do all this, back at the lab or in the, it's cold as all get out outside and I want to change it. So I go back to the control room or the little hut or my truck, whatever. And then when I'm here and I download this and it just shows up in my downloads folder, I would just put that on a thumb drive. And then you can plug the thumb drive into the ACM. And when you plug it into the ACM, you can then go choose a file. So remember, there's two ways. We can do what I'm doing here, where I'm connected to it. I'm connected to this server over my PC with an Ethernet cable, and I can do everything all on my computer. Or I could take a thumb drive and I could put it on a thumb drive, walk up to the ACM 4000, plug the thumb drive in, and then now we're here. So I'm looking at this screen either on my computer or on the ACM, and I click choose file. So now I'm here, update, blah, blah, blah. So I just put this here, right? You guys saw me do that a minute ago. I click open, and now it shows up. Now if I click test and I click connect, I now have this. Now remember, I said that this was the ACM, remember? This screen was the ACM. And this screen was the one we just made. So now I've taken the screen that I made and I put it on the ACM. Now I'm going to connect to it. And now we see it. Does that make sense? And again, if I edit this screen, this is not going to edit this screen. Likewise, if I edit this screen, I'm not going to edit this screen. So you have to eject it and then put it on the device. Or the other option is you could actually have, if you wanted to, you could have full version that is not one of these like this. So this is the last option. Maybe, there it is. So this is a fully exported view that is remembering my browser settings. So I'm sorry, that might be a little bit confusing because it looks the same. So your browser has a cache memory that will always remember what the last dashboard looked like, essentially. And then it loaded it through that open port. So anyway, the point is that you could actually edit this is a full version. See, I have the whole list. And let me just talk on that for a second. So if I go here, this was the one that we were working with earlier. That was that. You click that. Click this. Hold on. Go back. So let me go to the auto connect. So this is an exported view. And if I click that, you see how this is, I don't have that drop down menu anymore. This is an exported version of the AFR 500 that if I connect to it, I can still edit it and stuff, but I can't go, it's not a full AWI, it's ejected out of this application page. But if I go back here and I go to the Altronic web interface version 1.37, now I get this drop down menu. So this isn't the case where you've got a bunch of products and you're trying to set them all up and you have the full AWI capability. You can select from this list, and in theory, I could pick anything and try to connect, and it'll connect, but there won't be anything here because it's trying to read the NGI 1000. So anyway, that's the difference between a full version and a released version. So again, a released version would be like this. I cannot choose what device it is. It's already launched. And if I send this to someone else, they would get this and they could edit it, but it's not a full AWI, it's ejected. And that's important to realize because the ejected AWIs will play a very important role when we move to the next step, which I'll talk about in a few minutes here. So we'll go back. This was test, in test. It was ejected. Remember, it was ejected here. IP address, connected. So this is the one we just made. Okay. Any questions on that stuff? I know it's a lot to take in all at once, and I'm kind of flying around here, trying to move methodically and into how you would do this. But I think the best thing is to see it live and probably not just go through a PowerPoint. All the stuff on what I just did is in the documentation on the wiki, but hopefully seeing it live is valuable. So before we move on to the last part, are there any questions or concerns, comments on what we just covered?
Hey, Matt, is this going to be how we're going to be programming the new logic modules when they come out?
Okay, so it is a partial yes. So what I mean by that is you'll have to do all the web stuff, the Ethernet connections, the launching the page, but the look is similar but different. So the one thing that's interesting about this guy is no matter what I do, see how it grows from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1? That's so you can take it and put it on anything from like a 55 or 70-inch TV, whatever, to a phone or a tablet. The engine configuration tool is a web page but due to its nature, it's more fixed because it's a tool completely generated for the NGI 5000 logic that has very specific file parameters that have to be made and configured, and it didn't make sense to build it in the AWI. But in a sense, it is an AWI. It's just more locked. You're not going to be able to get in and edit it like this, but it's more of like the ejected locked version of an AWI. So you'll have to connect, you'll have to get to a screen, you'll have to plug into the Ethernet port just like you would for an AWI. All that's the same. And the screen will even look very much the same, but you will not be able to adjust the screen, is the point. But yes, it will be very much like this.
Hey, Matt, this is John coming back from field. So one of the questions that I have now that I was in field, I was doing this application of the AFR 500 on a genset. And that genset, besides the Altronic stuff, they also have some other devices, basically, to control the load and things like that. And one of the things that the customer was asking is the possibility to having just one screen, not just the Altronic products, but also maybe to bring the information from the other devices that are coming from the Modbus or CAN bus. Is that possible using the ACM 4000 at this point or in the future?
So I'm going to ignore you for a second, John, and I'm going to ask if anyone else has any questions.
Okay.
And I say that jokingly, but yeah, if anyone else has any other questions, because that's actually the segue to the next topic.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good, John. I knew everyone was going to want to ask that, but and that's why I'm asking you to hold on just for a second. So any other questions on what we covered just about the AWI? Okay, so I'll come back to the other question, and I have a question for you, John. You were the person in South America that made it all work. Was it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was me. Yeah. Well, peacefully, and this is a suggestion that I have for all the people that are here in this training. You have to work with your customer to guarantee that the power supplies are really, really clean. If not, you're gonna suffer, and maybe you're gonna damage some of the equipment. That what happened with us.
Oh yeah, that was a different problem. Yeah. So in John's case, on the AFR 500, they had a battery charger, unrelated to the AWI, but damaged some boards because it was pulsing the supply voltage to above probably 30 some volts.
Yes. It was more than 5% of the peak-to-peak voltage. So we damaged those boards because the customer didn't pay attention to that. So, but even with that, we can try some different stuff, and it was working. It was working as you just explaining, Matt.
Okay, good. Yeah, so he is one of the first people to ever use this just in the wild by themselves, and like I said, they asked some questions, very, very good, pointed questions after reading the documentation. There was a couple exchanges, and then they were up and going. They were able to change the registers and do some of the stuff that we needed. And I think what we're hearing is it was pretty easy. So thanks, John.
No problem, man. Thanks to you.
Okay, so the next topic would be what John just asked. How do we put everything on the same display? And the answer is yes. And we're working on that right now. I was in the process of getting a demo that I could have shown you live, but I wasn't able to get the ACM and all that on the network and up in time to be able to demo it for you. Because I was just going to put the ACM on the network and put it on the Teams and then show you live, because it's actually over in the training room that most of you should be familiar with, in a panel right now. So I was trying to make all that work, and I just couldn't get to that point. But the answer is yes. And what we're doing, and what this means is, okay, so you have an AWI. So how do I add or make more AWIs, and how do I put them all on the same screen? And that is actually in place and working now. We've been working on an end-to-end solution that they're cleaning up and will be launching at the end of Q1. So by the end of March, it should be in your hands. We're going to be testing it over the next few weeks here. But essentially, what happens is there's a page that looks kind of like this, but way more elegant, and is the point is it's kind of like a top level page. So if you can imagine, this is like the AWI itself, which is down at the bare bones, giving you the UI, and then you need another page like this one that's a configuration page. And what that is we're calling it the multi-device interface. So as long as it talks Modbus or CAN, then it'll be able to be linked in at the moment to add a page. So on a page that looks like this, that's a higher level. So you're kind of just working up in succession here. So you have to have a thing that configures the ACM. So there's a button to go in and configure the IP address and all the settings of the ACM. And then there's another button that says, I want to add an AWI. And essentially you would imagine this says add AWI. You would click it, and then it brings up a connections page that looks like this. And when you click it and you want to add it, you'll select your device. You'll enter the IP address of the device or whatever node it's at, or configuration settings for the device. And then instead of connect, you'll click add. And then when you add it, you'll have an AWI just like this per device. And they're nice, cute little blocks, and they look, a lot nicer than this. And then you just add those in. It's all from this page, from a configuration page. You can add AWIs, you can delete AWIs, and bring those in. And then there's another button that's a template button. And in the template button, it's got like, for anyone who's seen the DE4000 demo, it's got like a DE4000 square here, and then the page is cut to a third, and then it's got buttons down on the bottom. That would be one template. And then you press the buttons and it switches between the side view, and then you can press it twice and it pops up the full page, things like that. Or there'd be, there's another template where, you just have a full page, and then there's buttons down on the bottom that you can select each one, and then the page comes up, and then you just have one page per AWI. Or maybe there's one where you split it into thirds. There's all kinds of different things. Just imagine almost like a PowerPoint template, that it's got like a picture over here and a text box and a text box. You'll be able to essentially choose from a various set of layouts, and then pick which AWI goes in each layout, and then you'll be able to move those around and do things like that. But that's already, like I said, it's over in the panel right now. I just don't have access to it, so I apologize. But that's how you'll bring those in. And then the last button that's available is for data logging and trending. All the devices that are in there, you'll be able to data log and trend either of any one of them. You just turn it on or off. And then there's some other settings about like how much and things like that. But for now, you'll be able to turn data logging and trending on or off. Then you can have a trending screen that's in there as well, and then that you get to select what values are trended and all those fancy things. But it turned into, we had this as a bridge device for one product. Everyone has asked for multiple products, so we kind of abandoned the single bridge that would be you have a third-party device and you walk up with one ACM and you hook it up. The MDI will allow you to do one device or as many devices really as you want, and put those in a template layout. So I think we demoed that for a certain group. I don't remember where we were, but in any case, some of you may have seen it already. But that's, like I said, it's full end-to-end right now. We're just working out a few things, and then that'll come out the end of March. So yes, you'll be able to do that. And remember, MDI is a bunch of AWIs. It's a bunch of the pages put together under one configuration setting. I've talked a lot, sorry. Now, I guess it's time for questions. I don't have anything else to show you. Hopefully that was clear enough all the way up through the documentation and how to get in and out of the ACM. And if you have one, I encourage you just to try it out. do.
Folks, any questions for Matt? As usual, Matt, well done. Lots of material here, and yeah, this is an exciting product, I think, in terms of not only the ACM as a hardware base, but being able to use it in so many different ways. Device integrator here, ACM, AFR combinations here, DE4000. It's got a lot of homes, and now and even going forward here, you know, and many more to come. So appreciate this excellent review of the AWI. Questions for Mr. Train?
Hi, Matt. This is Hirali.
Hello.
Could you hear me?
Yes, sir.
This is Hirali. Just to, okay, because I'm just doing some commissioning. We have the Phoenix HMI. I come to know that we cannot connect through the ACM module the Phoenix display. It is only designed right now for HDMI. Is it correct?
It's only designed for HDMI.
Yeah.
So, Matt, just to let you know, basically the Phoenix is not an HDMI HMI, so it's the one that does the web browser directly into the controller. So we supplied a ACM while we were still developing the ACM, maybe to in the future use it as a data logger trender to collect all the data and then plug in via Ethernet to the HMI to connect to that. So that was the plan with these Siddhartha panels.
So I believe in the configuration it's in right now, it's talking to the IP address of the display port on the DE4000 would be my guess if I remember correctly. But to answer your question, could it be used with the ACM 4000? The answer is yes, if you, depending on what you have available of the HMI. I believe because it's Ethernet and it has a single board computer essentially in the back and it's launching the web page, you would have to just get to the IP address like I'm doing here and just treat it as if it's a computer looking at the ACM. And then you can take control of the ACM like I am with my computer. The Phoenix display is actually a computer with a display on the front. It may not be as clean because of how we rolled everything out for the mainstream, but if you could get in and actually change the IP address of what it's looking at, you could just ping the IP like we're doing here. Like my computer isn't Spectral. I just launched the HTML, so you'd have to have that file on the Phoenix somehow, and then launch the file from the display, and then type in the IP address of the ACM, and you could do it. And you might actually be able to get to the IP address of the ACM through the DE4000. You may not have to change it at all. I'll have to get back to you on that, but there's multiple ways to get to the ACM once it's connected over the Ethernet.
Yeah, and just to let Shirley know, as well as Matt, that the reason why we put the ACM in there is for the event, the advanced trending and data logging, which is not completed yet. So what we're planning on doing is once that's completed, then we'll try to set that ACM up ready to use through the Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I guess I was just trying to answer the question saying that it's not possible, but just thinking it, yeah, it's absolutely possible. And we'll be able to take advantage of the data logging and trending. And yeah, that'll all work. The ACM will do the heavy lifting. You just have to have the display pointed at the IP address of the ACM and you'll be able to do it all.
Okay. Yeah, I will wait for that.
Folks, anything else for Mr. Traina? Once, going twice. A lot to absorb, Matt, in an hour, and we appreciate you you doing this and giving such a good review. So we'll as this product continues to unfold here, I'm sure we'll want to invite you back to do an update on this, because I think, as I said, I think this has got a lot of opportunity for us and opportunity for our customers here to deliver good value.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave.